My name is Kyle Kunzer. I'm a senior manager and Mendix certified trainer here at Kinetech. I originally hail from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, but I now reside in San Marcos, Texas. I think it's easy with the Mendix platform to say that its power is that it can do this, that, or this other thing. But to me, I think the biggest strength in Mendix is its low barrier to entry. There's always a talk about citizen development, and some people lean towards citizen development not working. But I think it's that there's just not a good buy-in from citizen developers, right? They see it as an additional function to their job, not something that can enhance the productivity of their job. So for me, it's, low barrier to entry, I think, is the biggest strength because it's easy to get into Mendix compared to a full stack technology, which makes it far more accessible. I've introduced it to people as young as 10 years old, and they've been able to pick it up and actually build something with it. So, you don't have to come into it with all of the skill set. You don't need to know how to do user interface and user experience design and integration. Those skills can be built up over time, but with just a foundational knowledge granted by the RAD certification, you can still build meaningful applications. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the most challenging problem for Mendix for me now, but definitely at the time, because I was so new to Mendix, the most challenging problem I had solved was an integration with a DICOM medical imaging viewer. Then essentially what happened was I had 6 weeks of actual Mendix experience under my belt, and I was building my first application, which was for a telemedicine company, and we were embedding a medical imaging viewer from our vendor archive. So I ended up building that integration with the embedded DICOM solution, which was a combination of Mendix, Java, and REST. I think I'm most proud of that project, actually, the one that included the DICOM viewer. Maybe it's because it was my first project, and it's sort of just like the thing I always pull back to when I think of my experience, my journey with Mendix. Or perhaps it's because at the time I was actually a customer of Mendix and not a consultant. So it was a software I was building for my company using the platform. And so, having a stake in it is kind of important. But I think the application itself just made such a big impact for our company. We were able to improve efficiencies with the other people working within the platform. It was B2C, so we were seeing, revenue generated through it, and a significant amount at that. And we were able to actually save a lot of money because the application was a bespoke application we built to move away from a third party we were using that wasn't fulfilling our needs, right? They were maybe a 70 to 80% match with what we were doing as a business, and then the unique components we had to kind of cobble together workflows to fill the gap. And instead, we built a completely bespoke application with Mendix that fit the need 100%, and then took it miles beyond what we were getting from the third party. So I'm currently working sort of across the board. As a senior manager, I sort of have my hands in a lot of cookie jars around our organization, lending my expertise to any number of projects at a given time. But presently, I'm very focused within our industrial and general vertical, working with a large steel manufacturer here in the United States, a couple of business corporations around sort of housing and case management, and I've dabbled a little with a client in the financial sector as well. I'd probably say that my aha moment with Mendix actually came before I was even working on a project. As I alluded to earlier, I was a customer of Mendix, so I was involved in the assessment of the platform before we decided to choose Mendix as our low-code platform to build apps on. I think the aha moment was really the POC that the Mendix team delivered and the fact that they did it in 5 days. So my CIO and I, which were the primary assessors of the technology platforms we were evaluating, we were blown away by the fact that in 5 days they could put together rudimentary application that was not only hitting a lot of the key points in terms of our requirements, but was also styled and had like a UI UX and had a simple DICOM integration that we could see the platform was able to work with. And then again, just the 5 days, like they basically took a list of requirements that we gave them verbally, wrote them down, and then came back 5 days later with something that we could actually use. And to us, it blew our minds, because traditionally we were looking at full stack, and it would take months, maybe years to see value out of something that was being built. And here it was like a work week. I mean, if we want to look at superpowers specifically in the world of low code, I'd have to keep it in the realm of superpowers. And I'd say that I have X-ray vision. And what I mean by that is that when I'm listening to a client discuss their requirements for a project, or an upcoming sprint, what have you, I start to visualize the model or changes to the model that would achieve their goals. And in some cases, at the end of that conversation, I even have a preliminary model to work off of and to start with.
Wow.
And so it's just, I'm so familiar with the platform now that I understand the correct conventions of domain modeling, that for me, I can just start to visualize and put these pieces together in my head in the same way you might think about putting together a Lego set. So if I wasn't a Mendix expert, I think I would have wanted to be a marine biologist. Originally in school, I had started in biology, and my personal interest took me in the direction of computer science, which landed me here today. But growing up in Vancouver, I have such an affinity for the ocean. I spent so much time in and on it, and just exploring the coastline and visiting the myriad islands in the area. And there's so much to study and understand about what goes on under the sea. And we've really only scratched the surface. And, I hear that all the time, watching people talk about marine biology and just the oceans in general and oceanography. And, the comparison is always to what we do in space, right? We spend so much time looking outwards from Earth, probably because it's honestly easier, because it's very hard for us to explore the depths of the ocean. But we know more about what's going on light years away from us than we do in the deepest places on this planet. And so to me, the most significant discovery of our generation or future generations is probably going to be on the bottom of the ocean, and not necessarily staring out into space. The advice I'd give to aspiring low-code developers is just never stop experimenting. Low-code and Mendix in particular allows you to prove out use cases very fast. A lot of us are familiar with the phrase, fail fast, fail often. And I think that's very true with Mendix and experimentation. It's very easy compared to traditional coding to go into Mendix and just see if something works. And it's, if you do fail, right, something doesn't work, and you do it fast, you ventured something and you didn't gain anything other than experience. We always have to remember too that failure is just another step on the path to success. And so every failure is still an opportunity to grow. All right, I'm just going to preface this. This is for the blooper reel.
Deal. Lay it on me.
All right. So if I was going to pursue something outside of being a Mendix expert, I'd probably be a mycologist.
Really?
Yeah, because that way I'd be a really fun guy.
Kyle. You already are a really fun guy. I see what you did there.
There's your dad joke for this whole series.
That was beautiful. We always need a dad joke.